So, in this video, I would like to talk about how to best support someone with a chronic illness. And I am coming at this from a little bit of a dual perspective. I myself have struggled with my fair share of chronic illnesses, and I also have many friends that have struggled with chronic illnesses of their own. And I'm going to be sharing in this video some of the things that I wish I had heard from other people, and also some of the things that people with good intentions said that hurt me a little bit. And, this video is meant to be purely educational, purely informational. And if you yourself have a chronic illness, you can send this to someone else to kind of let them know, hey, like, this is what would really be helpful for me. And also, if you have a chronic illness and you don't resonate with this video, that is also perfectly fine. A lot of this is just based on my own experiences. So, kind of getting started, the first way that you can really support someone who is struggling with a chronic illness is to ask them, right? It's as simple as that. Ask them, how can I best support you? I think a lot of us get uncomfortable in these situations and we jump into savior mode. And so we're like, trying to give them all of this advice and we're like, have you tried this? Have you tried this? And it gets to be very overwhelming. You have to remember that there is a lot of emotional grief that comes with having a chronic illness. You're really trying to adjust to a new way of living, a new reality. The whole life you had before has been altered. And it's kind of like if someone is grieving a loved one, you have to give them the time and space to fully process that and deal with that. You don't want to just immediately jump in to recommending a bunch of things, even if you have good intentions. The next thing I really want to talk about is toxic positivity. There is always a place for positivity, right? But when someone is struggling with a chronic illness, toxic positivity can often just feel like invalidation. If someone is suffering in that moment and they are really struggling with something and you kind of just tell them, "Oh, well, look on the bright side," or here's the silver lining, and this has this and this and this effect, you're kind of ignoring that person's experience. You're denying their reality. I remember when I was dealing with something, I was lamenting the fact that there were some things I couldn't do. And I was like, oh man, I really wish I could do that, but that's not really in the cards for me. And that person that I was talking to responded by saying, well, not with that attitude, you won't. And that was just so hurtful to me because it really had nothing to do with my attitude. I was just being realistic to the situation at hand. And they were kind of denying the very real reality of my body's experiences. And the irony in that is that true healing, deep healing, comes from understanding the body's wisdom, comes from listening to the body. So if you are just trying to mentally override what the body is experiencing, how are you able to listen? How are you able to hear what the body is trying to teach us, what these symptoms are trying to say to us, right? You can't force the body into healing. You have to really move back into this relaxed nervous system state. You have to be open to listening. You have to remain curious and you have to be very compassionate. You can't just be like, well, you're not trying hard enough, or, well, not with that attitude, right? That's not going to make the body feel safe to open up and unravel its stories. The body only feels safe to do that when it's in a safe and compassionate container. And it really doesn't feel safe when you are putting a timeline on someone, when you're pushing them to get better right away. You have to signal to your body, I'm listening to you. We have all the time in the world. It's okay. I understand, that we're going through a lot right now, that we're having all of these symptoms. I'm here to listen. I'm here to be curious. Not, we need to get better now. This is horrible. I can just think my way out of this. If I'm positive, it'll all go away, right? All my thoughts can just make this go away. That literally just hearing that, it's so stressful. It does the opposite of put my body into that parasympathetic nervous system state, right? Like, I mean, this is just my opinion, right? Like, this is my experience. So, someone else might feel differently, but that's just my opinion on that. And on that same note, I noticed that when I was really going through the roughest parts of my chronic illness journey, I really only found solace and peace in journaling. Now, why is that? Because a journal, it doesn't have any judgment. It is solely there to listen. It's not looking to fix me like I'm a project. It's simply giving me the space to allow my body's stories to unfold in this like creative container. There's no force to it, there's no timeline. It's literally just there to let me express myself. And there's no pushback, right? And it's kind of the same thing when you are talking with someone who's really dealing with these types of feelings. You don't want to treat them like they're a project, like they need to be fixed. Because a lot of the time, when you just keep recommending things to them, it makes them feel like a failure. It puts the blame and the onus of their illness on them. When a lot of the time, there are so many factors involved in these conditions. And now I'm speaking as a holistic nutritionist and a functional hormone specialist. And so I'm trained to work with a lot of these things, and I know firsthand how complicated they are. And that is both on a physical level and a spiritual level. And we don't really know for sure what someone is dealing with, where that is coming from. It could be ancestral, it could be past life related, it could be from this life related trauma, it could be due to environmental factors, it could be due to their genetics, it could be due to their diet. It could be due to so many things and probably all of these things overlapping, right? So we really need to keep in mind how nuanced these situations are. And also, on that same note, try to remember how far into their journey someone is with this, right? Because if you are like 9 years into this journey and you have already tried like 100 different treatments, holistic and conventional, and things aren't working, and someone is still coming to you being like, well, have you tried this? Have you tried this? Have you tried this? Once again, it just you feel exhausted at that point. It just makes you feel so like so much like a failure almost. And it almost just like this feeling of helplessness, this powerlessness, right? Um, and so once again, because I work as a holistic nutritionist and functional hormone specialist, I do believe that there are root causes to these issues and we shouldn't just not do anything with them. And of course, we want to address these root issues, but there's a way to go about it when you are supporting someone with a chronic condition. You don't, once again, just push things on someone, unsolicited advice, when they did not ask for it. We have to understand where that person is at, what they're ready for, what role they want you to play, right? So if someone is coming to me because they're hiring me to be this like health coach for them, it's going to be very different because of course I'm going to be giving them a lot of advice in this sphere. But if a friend is coming to me talking about this stuff, it's not my place to share any of that information, even if I have a lot of knowledge on that topic, unless they ask me. It's very different. You have to know what role you play in that person's life. Something else I didn't mention before is also considering their financial situation. So, there are often a lot of things that can help people with certain conditions, but that person doesn't have the finances to necessarily do that program, to work with that specific professional, to buy that specific technology. And if you keep telling them about all of these great treatments, but they're not in a financial situation to afford it, that's once again just going to make them feel even worse. It's going to make them feel so powerless, right? So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. You don't want to try to correct that person's feelings. You want to make sure you're actually listening and respecting and giving them the space um, as a compassionate listener. And yeah, just remember that even if you have good intentions, your words can still be hurtful.